Hey, this is your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. I have a special guest in studio, one of my favorite people on the planet, Mr. Sean Patrick Thomas, to talk about the case, the curse, the curse of La Llorona. Stay right there.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, for episode 57 of the Curvy Film Critic with Carla Renata here at Black Hollywood Live. If you can, go over to YouTube, give us those comments, give us some love, and give us some thumbs up over at Spotify and iTunes. So today is Easter Sunday, but I'm going to talk about a little curse action with one of my favorite people on the planet, my special guest in studio, Mr. Sean Patrick Thomas. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you very much for having me, Carla. Appreciate it.
Charlie, you ain't got to be so formal. We all good in the hood.
Okay, good.
So before we got on camera, we were talking a little bit about the fact that I'm a Bison, Howard University, whoop, whoop, and you shared with me that your parents, both of them, went to Howard University,
yes,
and yet you did not pick up the lineage of the Bison. I need to know why.
Okay, I need to explain this. My mom and dad love Howard. They have nothing but good things to say about Howard. But when I was coming up, a lot of my friends were looking at the University of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And so I went down there, and I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. Mm-hmm. And the area where I grew up was very kind of suburban, not very diverse. I didn't see a lot of myself.
Of course you didn't. It's Delaware.
Right. And so I went down to the University of Virginia for Black weekend, like Black Alumni Weekend. Mm-hmm. And this is back in the late 80s. So this is back when it was like doing the butt.
Hey.
Right. And so I was down there, and it was the Greeks and the step shows.
Of course.
And the girls and the biker shorts and all that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I went down there, and I saw all these black people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm going to UVA. And so based on that weekend there, I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, man.
And so I just kind of...
So UVA stole you from us.
I got stuck in my mind that this is where I was going, you know?
Oh, wow. UVA stole you from us. That's messed up.
Yeah.
That is messed up. I am so sad. But glad that you got your groove on with the Homecoming. Speaking of Homecoming, have you seen Beyonce's Homecoming?
I missed it. I have not. But it just came out yesterday,
It just came out yesterday.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to catch up.
Dude, if you love the Homecoming at U of A, then you're gonna be real nostalgia when you see Beyonce's Homecoming, because that is all it is, and she got on some booty shorts too.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind.
He's like that might be a plus. We don't know. So of course, if I'm gonna have Sean Patrick Thomas in studio, I gotta talk about Save the Last Dance for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
Julia Stiles, Kerry Washington, and dancing. So were you a trained dancer when you started that?
No.
Because you look like you knew what you were doing.
No.
I was like, my boy got some skills.
Not trained at all. Not trained in the least bit.
No?
No, not at all. But I mean, I went to NYU to get my master's degree. Mm-hmm. And so we had a little bit of everything, like a little bit of singing, a little bit of movement class and stuff like that. And so what I think I got out of that was I wasn't intimidated by having to learn something new. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what served me from getting my master's degree. And outside of that, I just had great teachers, great choreographers, Fatima, Richmond Talawega, and the two of them just drilled the hell out of me until it was time to say action. I mean, up until like action, they were just on me 24/7. Even days when we weren't shooting, Richmond had me out at the club, had me out just.
Oh no, y'all were at the club practicing?
Yeah. Even nights
that was fun.
After we're done shooting, I'd be exhausted. He'd be like, we're going out, you know? And that's what we did.
That's a great way to get somebody to be comfortable with dancing and filming it. Wow. Mm-hmm. I'm impressed by that. I'm really impressed by that. What would you say was the most difficult dance sequence that you had to like bust a move on that you were like, ooh, I'm really not looking forward to this camera rolling right now?
There was one that we did where we practiced a particular thing for like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then when we got there that day, Fatima and Richmond were like, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's do this instead. And me, I came from a very kind of, academic approach. I practice it and have it in my head and all that stuff. And I wasn't really ready to improvise dance-wise the way a real dancer would be. So there was one day where they kind of changed it all up. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if I can do this.
You're like, I need a minute.
Yeah. But then I went back to my trailer with Richmond, and we just talked and hung out. Had a little, cocktail.
Gotta do what you gotta do. I ain't mad at you.
And then we went back to the set, and we just did it.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's some stuff that I just couldn't do.
Like what?
Like a split.
Child, don't feel bad. I can't do those split either.
Certain things. And so they had a real dancer, a guy named Punch came in, who's an amazing dancer.
Oh, yeah, I know who he is.
You know Punch? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he came in, and the stuff that I couldn't do, he did it.
Yeah, now back in the day, I could do splits, but the only thing that's doing the split right now is my fingers. Bam! Oh, pow! That was fierce.
I can't even do that.
You can't even do that?
Can't
come on. Bam!
Okay, now,
you can't do
which
that?
fingers are you using?
These two.
These two? I can't do it, see?
Sean.
I can't do it.
You gotta do some exercise
I
with the fingers.
I gotta stretch the fingers, yeah.
Oh my God, you are pure comedy. Okay, so moving forward, because we're gonna do my little Sean Patrick Thomas retrospective, because I have to do it since you're here. That Barbershop franchise is one of my favorite franchises of Black films ever, because it is a franchise that anybody of color or not color can relate to, because everybody that's a dude got to go to the barbershop.
Absolutely.
Even girls go to the barbershop now.
Right.
So everybody knows what that is. Everybody can understand what that feeling is of sitting there and waiting to get your hair cut or get it in somebody's chair whose chair you don't want to be in.
Right.
Have you ever had that experience?
All the time. And especially now, because a lot of the barbershops now, there's women in there cutting dudes'
exactly.
hair. And one particular barber that I've been going to off and on for a long time here in LA, I walked into the shop and everybody's chair was full and they had long lines. And she was just standing there all by herself like, I'm ready, I can take you.
Did you go to her?
And I went to her, and she was the best in the shop.
Wow.
Yeah, she
was
still
fantastic.
Go to her? Off and on, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, that's the way things have evolved. And dudes need to be ready to be open to anybody, because she was better than all the dudes in that shop.
But you know what? We got to be like that, because we girls. We always got to be like 10 times better.
You're right.
That's just how it is.
And it's not fair. It's
not fair, and it's not right. But, it's getting better.
Yes.
But that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
What was your favorite... What was the one scene that y'all shot that you were in that you were like, I'm really just trying to contain my laughter right now, but I don't think I'm going to be able to not cheese it up in this moment?
Right. I mean, really anything that had to do with Cedric the Entertainer. I mean, he was doing stuff where every single take he would have a new joke or a new, zinger that he was tossing out. And so, like, I can't think of any particular scene, but whenever the camera was on Cedric, the director was like, okay, now try something else. Now try something else. Now try something else. And every single time he tried something else, I just couldn't hold my laughter in.
Did you read for any other parts in that film? Because it seemed like that part that you played was tailor-made just for you. Tailor-made because
what's that supposed to mean?
But it means that you that stand-up, kind of intelligent, well-spoken, handsome brother, and it felt like that part was specifically for you. Because honestly, when I look at the film and I see you in it, I can't imagine somebody else doing it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because you were perfect in it.
Thank you very much. No. What happened with that one is they were doing readings of the play, not the play. Geez, I'm such a theater geek. They were doing readings of the script, and they asked me to just read that character during the table reading.
Oh.
When they were just having like readings of it, and so it just kind of progressed from there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was tailor-made for you.
No, I wouldn't say that, because it was written, as it is, as you see it on screen. But I guess I was in on it a little early, just doing the table reads of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When you showed up so when you did the table reads of it, when you got called to do the table read, let's go back.
Okay.
So when you got called to do the table read and they said, so Ice Cube, the rapper Ice Cube, he got this screenplay that he's doing about barbershops. Were you like, Ice Cube?
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. No, I mean, I grew up, I didn't grow up because we're not that far apart in age, but when I was in college, I loved Ice Cube. So I had any problem with that. Because,
baby, I'm going to tell you, when they said Ice Cube has written and is going to star in a film called Barbershop, I'm like, written?
Well, he didn't write it, no.
Didn't he write something? He produced it. He produced it.
Yeah, he was producer, but I don't think he wrote it.
So when I think about produced, I think about written and produced by.
Sure.
So that's why I said that.
Right.
But when I heard that he was involved with that film in that respect, I was like, you mean like Boys in the Hood, Ice Cube?
Yeah.
Like, really? And it's gonna be, and Boys in the Hood, Ice Cube is turned into like this family man. He's got this whole little family franchise and the barbershop franchise, and he actually used the barbershop the last one to make a statement.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which all of them made a statement in their own way. To be honest, like, even the second one that you were in, where you had become were you the councilman?
I was kind of like the press secretary to the alderman.
Yes, alderman.
Yeah.
So even in that one was even prolific because we were at a time during that moment where that kind of stuff was happening at the time in America too.
Yeah.
So I was saying this to you before we got on air, that a lot of times when films are being shot, nobody really knows what the state of affairs in the country or in society or what the pulse of society is going to be when the films are actually released.
Sure.
And the Barbershop franchise, in addition to other films that I've seen, always have that luck, I guess, of being released during a time where it's like right on time, right where the finger's right on the pulse.
Yeah, all those movies have heart, but I don't think that's a coincidence, though. I mean, I think
You don't?
No, like George Tillman and Bob Title, the producers, those are guys that are really just in touch with the people, you know, and they have good taste. And I don't think it's an accident that all three of them end up having something that feels relevant at the time.
Okay. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'll go with you on that one. All right. So now, because I'm a Broadway baby, and I know you're a Broadway baby,
I am.
we got to talk about a Raising the Sun, but I got to tell you my Raising the Sun story first. So when I was going to Howard University and I was, drama was my minor, every girl that took a drama class at Howard University or in any class across the country always has to learn that Beneath the Monologue.
Yeah.
The one about being a doctor, everybody.
Yeah.
So the day that I was supposed to do mine, I was a journalism major, so I had all these projects due, these video projects that were due, and I didn't have time to learn that monologue, but I was good at memorizing stuff at the last minute.
Okay.
So I skipped a class so I could memorize the monologue at the last minute, and came up in that classroom thinking I was going to fool somebody. And my professor, I finished that monologue, and she looked at me and she was like, it felt like 10,000 years, but I'm sure it was just a couple of seconds. And she looked at me and she was like, so I don't know what that was, but that was the worst version of that monologue I've ever seen in my life. And then I don't know what she said after that because I blanked out. But she literally ripped me a new one. And I was mortified. And so because of that, for years and years and years, I thought I couldn't act because she was like, because that's the most, that was the monologue that proved, if you were a girl, that proved whether you had the chops or not, because it has so much range within that short period of time.
Sure.
And I got up there and thought I was doing something, and my college professor was like, yeah, no, you didn't.
Now, is this an English teacher or is this a drama teacher?
No, this was a drama teacher.
I don't think that's how you teach people how to get through a monologue.
No.
That's not very supportive.
But no, she wasn't.
No.
She let me have it. And I was like, and I remember it vividly. I cried and I cried. Because it was at Howard University in Ira Aldrich Theater where we used to have our classes, and I ran out the back of Ira Aldrich Theater, and I was sitting on the other side of the theater, squatted down on the floor, just sobbing.
Sure.
And my classmates came out and they were like, "Oh, Carla, it wasn't that bad." I'm like, it was awful. So whenever I see Raisin in the Sun, I am painfully
traumatic.
reminded of that.
Right.
But I'm also painfully reminded of the fact that was the first time that we ever saw a black family depicted that way on the stage or on the screen.
Yeah.
So when you became a part of that because that also is a franchise in a certain respect because it's been done so many times on stage and on screen. When you came into that fold, what feeling did you have about that coming into it, knowing what the lineage was?
Well, for me, it had a significant amount of importance for me because the first play I ever did where I had like any words to say was Raisin in the Sun when I was in college at the University of Virginia. And at that time, I wasn't even planning to be an actor.
Oh, wow. What were you planning to be?
I was just planning to like maybe be a lawyer or something like that. I
could see that.
I had no ambition to be an actor at all. But they were doing a production of Raisin in the Sun in Virginia in 1989.
Okay.
And they didn't have enough black actors that were in the drama department to fill out the cast. And so a guy named Richard Warner, who was directing the play, who basically I credit him for me ever even thinking about acting. And he's still there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And he saw me in the
you.
hallway and he was like, "Hey, would you want to audition for a play?" Because I was in the building for a different class. And I was like, okay, sure. So I auditioned for Raisin in the Sun to play Joseph Assegai.
Full circle moment.
Yeah,
Cool.
And he cast me in the role. And I had no idea what I was doing, but
we never do at that age, do we?
Yeah, but I loved every second of it, and then I was hooked. And so to get to come full circle and do that same role on Broadway, more than 20 years later, it was just the biggest thrill for me. And even just talking about it now, I'm getting goosebumps.
I got goosebumps
Yeah,
for you. That
yeah.
was weird. He said goosebumps, and then my skin went ding, 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 ding. And Denzel was in that
Yes,
production. So,
yes.
so you've had this full circle moment doing Raisin and Son, and now you're working with one of the most
The man.
celebrated actors in the African American community.
Yeah,
So, come on, dude. What was that like? And
It was
Anika
great.
Noni Rose, and
Yeah.
like that
And
was
Latanya Richardson.
Yes.
and yeah, I mean, great
that was an
cast.
amazing cast.
It was a great cast, yeah. Sophie Okonedo, unbelievable.
Yes.
Jason Durden,
Yes, that was a wonderful cast.
yeah, phenomenal cast.
It's a really wonderful
Yeah.
cast. I'm so glad that you got to have that full circle moment.
So am I. But it was just great because what you see with Denzel Washington in particular is that there's no tricks. There's no, there's nothing other than hard work. You see the man focus. You see the man experiment. You see the man try different things. Come early, stay late. He's just a guy who brings his hard hat and his lunch pail to work.
I
And,
love
and,
that.
and that's really all it is with him.
I love that
It's
analogy.
not an accident that he's great because he puts in the work.
Most people that are great do put in the work,
Yeah.
and I think it's a misconception that when someone like a Denzel or a Halle Berry or all the other greats that we know to be really great actors within our community, people think that they just got some lucky break. Of course, luck has something to do with it. It always does in our business. But my mother always said, luck is preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
If you're not prepared for the opportunity, you're
Right.
not going to have the luck to create those opportunities for you.
Right.
So they did what they had. Because I remember when I'm about to tell my age now. So I remember when I moved to New York, Denzel was on Broadway in a play called Checkers. Where it was him and his wife and Ruby Dee and Ozzie Davis. And I remember walking past the theater with that big backsplash with their pictures on it. And I remember I only saw him on a Broadway poster that one time. And the next time I saw him, he was in some crazy comedy movie. It was the worst movie ever. It was so bad. He was good, but the movie sucked. And then it did. I don't even remember the name of it. It was so bad. And then the next time I saw him, he was on St. Elsewhere. And that ended up being a really long-running medical drama. And then after that, it was like...
Stephen Biko and all that stuff.
And then the film thing just kind of opened up for him.
Yeah.
What... Do you remember if there's anything that you... in watching him rehearse or in watching him perform that you took away from being in his presence in that respect of working with him as a fellow actor?
Well, what I got from him mainly was he had this thing about him where he would tell me, like, he had a scene that came on right after mine during the show. And some nights when I would walk off, he would like whisper little things to me that like little tips and little things to remember, And one time, there's a scene where I'm telling Benita, you don't understand how lucky you are, because where I come from, I deal with this and I deal with that. And I think one night I must have done the scene and I must have come off really intense or angry. And when I walked off the stage and he said, Sean, remember the love. Just remember the love. And ever since then, it just kind of transformed the way I did the scene. And he's able to toss little simple things like that out at you.
Wow.
That just flower up organically in you and change everything.
I'm really glad to hear that
Yeah.
because a lot of times you hear so many stories of people at his level, especially not
Right.
being that generous
Oh,
or
yeah.
being, chuckleheads.
Right.
So, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad to hear that he was very generous with you.
Oh,
and
he was cool.
And he pulled you up and was trying to help make you better from where you were.
Absolutely. Anything he tells me, I will listen. I think I'm good.
know that's
I
right.
think I got skills, but I will listen to Denzel.
Yeah, brother, you got some skills.
I will listen to Denzel. Absolutely. And
Shoot,
what
if I was
cool-
working with
yeah.
him, I'd listen to him too.
Yeah, we would warm up before the show, and sometimes I would start doing Shakespeare monologues just to warm up my mouth, and I would start a line and he would finish it. Like everything I thought I knew, he knew, and he knew more.
All right.
Literally.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. So he said to you, remember the love.
Yes, he
That's
did.
going to segue me into my next segment,
Okay.
where there is a documentary that ended up on OWN called Black Love, where they interviewed all these couples about their relationship, how they met, what Black love means to them. Some couples are interracial, some are not. Some were broke when they met each other, some were not. Some were equal when they met each other, some were not. So I wanted to know what that experience was like for you and your wife doing it.
It was great for us to do it because we, at that point in time, we had just kind of gotten out of all the ups and downs of what it was to have our children, because we had some, fertility issues and miscarriages and all that stuff. And we had just finished like getting past all of that stuff, and the kids were young, and we were just kind of like had just settled down off of all of that, and we hadn't really talked about it in a way that we ended up talking about it.
That's hard.
With Tommy and Cody, because we talked about it alone, but not in a way where people really questioned us about how we were feeling at the time.
Well,
And so
that's
she
not
said
something
things-
that's talked about.
Right. She said
Yeah.
things that I didn't remember her feeling, or she'd never said before. I said things that she'd never heard me say before. And so it kind of brought things out in that forum that I don't know that we would have had it come out that same way if we were just talking alone over dinner.
Exactly. I had a girlfriend, her and her husband did fertility treatments because they were having some issues having kids. And it was a big discussion for them because we were coming right out of college as they were having that discussion. So there was a big discussion for them. But then what happened with them is my girlfriend, because she didn't tell me this until after the fact, but after the fact, it was discovered that sometimes when people go through those fertility treatments, there's a huge risk of developing breast cancer as a result of it.
That's interesting.
And my girlfriend developed breast cancer. She survived it. She survived it.
Right.
But when she called to tell me that she had been diagnosed with that,
Right.
it was really interesting because I thought, well, does that run in, because when she told me, I was like, does that run in your family? Because I didn't remember anybody, because we'd known each other since college. I didn't remember anybody in her family. She's like, no. She said, I was reading up about it, and they were saying in some instances, not all, and very, very few, it's like a very small percentage, that sometimes those fertility treatments can develop into breast cancer for certain people, depending on their genes and their family makeup and, background and all that. And she said, and I said, but knowing what you know now, would you still have done it? And she said yes.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Those babies are the best part of every day.
Aww.
Absolutely.
What is the one moment that you looked at one of your kids and you were like, ooh, that was so me when I was a kid?
Oh, it's a good
Because everybody has that moment. You know they do.
They do. Gosh, I think when my son is a competitive gymnast,
Oh, wow.
and he's turned out to be very, very good. And there are times when I watch him, and I see he gets so competitive to the point where like he vibrates with just like intensity.
Aww.
And I'm the same way. Like when I'm doing any type of sport like that, or anything really, I get very competitive. Like,
Really?
Yeah, like just super competitive. Like I want to win.
Are you like that when you play games too?
It depends.
Like,
on how
can we
many-
not play Uno with you?
No, we can
Are
play
you gonna
Uno.
be a problem?
Like, if I have a couple drinks, I'm good.
Are you gonna
Cocktails,
be that
I'm straight.
Are you gonna be that person when we play Uno or one of those games on Ellen where you're like, we're gonna have to get you in a straight jacket and get you out the room? Are you that person?
No. I'm cool. I'm cool with Uno. Spades, I'm good with all that.
Who's spade? I can't play spades.
Really?
I'm so not the card player.
That was my game in college.
I am so not that. Like, people, I feel like my black card should be revoked because whenever my friends invite me to, they're like, oh, girl, we going to have a card party. I'm like, yeah, I'm not your chick. Like, I can't play spades. I can't play fish. I can't play. I'm just like.
It's
nah.
never too late, unless you just don't want to know.
I just don't want to know.
That's cool.
I just don't
Yeah.
want to, because I watch my family. It's like a sport in my family, especially on my dad's side,
Right.
and it gets ugly. Like people start going in, folks start fighting, stuff gets thrown. I'm
Right.
like, I don't know if I want to be a
I'm
part
not like
of
that with cards. I'm like that with sports, and I'm like that with like maybe a competitive situation, like for a job or something like that.
What sport in particular? Basketball.
For me, I'm a massive football fan.
Oh,
I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. I bleed green. That's my thing.
you said I bleed green.
I do bleed green. I'm the biggest Eagles fan in the world.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But when I watch my son and when I see him, like he could do a perfect routine on the rings or the high bar or whatever. But if he does one little thing wrong, he'll come down and he'll be so upset.
Because he wants
when
to
he
be
was perfect
good.
in every other way. And I'm very much the same way.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I can relate to that. I remember a long time ago I did it was a singing competition or something. And I think I was like the first runner up. And I bawled. Like you would have thought somebody had died. I was like, "Ugh," just a mess. And my mother said, "Ooh, she's really upset that she didn't win." And I lied. I was like, "No, I'm just really happy for her." And my mother was like, I don't know who you thought you was fooling, but you
Right.
wasn't fooling me. You're my
Right.
kid. I knew you were upset because you didn't win. I think that was the first time for me in my life that I realized what being competitive was. Like, I didn't know I didn't know that that's what it was. I didn't know that's what it felt like. I just didn't know. And I was
Right.
like, it's a scary kind of feeling because don't you feel like sometimes you feel like that might get out of control if
Absolutely.
you let it? Like, this is a
yeah.
really scary kind of emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you're like, I don't know if do I need to rein this back? Do I need to am I gonna be the Incredible Hulk right now? Do I need to just like go in a closet
Right.
before I turn green and my muscles
Yeah.
pump up? Like, what's gonna happen? I
Yeah.
don't know.
But the thing is, I don't want to control that too much because that's part of what got me here to wherever it is that I am.
And then there's that.
You know, so I mean, it is what it is.
It is what
It's
it
gotta
is.
ride the beast.
What was the most surprising story that you and your wife heard from each other when you guys did Black Love?
The most surprising story that we heard from
That
each
when
other.
she said something and you were like, really? You felt like that? And she was like, really? You felt like that?
I think it was a good thing. Like I think she said things that were just so complimentary and so sweet, and she expressed so much admiration and respect for me that I never felt that she didn't feel those things for me, but to hear her say them in the way that she said them publicly, it's just different. You know,
Yeah.
it hit me hard in a good way.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, when you're in a relationship and I'm not married, but when you're married to someone and you're in a relationship and you have a family, it's an understood fact that you feel the way that you feel, but nobody goes out of their way to
Right.
communicate it on a
Right.
daily basis
Right.
or even a yearly basis. It kind of just comes up when it comes up.
Right.
Right?
And my wife is very articulate and eloquent, and just the way she laid it all out there publicly, it just blew me away.
Aw, that's so
Absolutely.
sweet.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you and you are truly like the Black Benjamin Buttons. You do not age. You are just like, you do not age. It is just like all glistening and glowing and just like, bam!
I'm having a lucky day then.
No, you having a lucky life. You having a lucky life, my brother. So also we were discussing before we got on the air about our feelings about horror films, and
Yes.
I expressed to you that I'm truly not that chick. And the only reason I went to see The Curse of La Llorona
Very good. Very good.
hey, was because you were in it. That's the only
appreciate
reason why I
that.
went to see it.
Good-
You and Linda
good taste.
Cardellini. I was like, okay, I like Linda Cardellini. I like Sean. Let me
Mm-hmm.
just go see what's going on. I was so excited. Well, I can't say that because I don't want to ruin it for people.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
I was excited that you were in the film. That's all I'm gonna
okay.
say. I was excited you were in the
Smart,
film, and I went to
smart.
see it because you were in the movie. Knowing this is a horror movie,
Yes.
what made you decide to do it? Because
Well, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's horror or comedy or drama, whatever. If it's a good story, it's a good story. If it's characters that people can connect to and feel a type of, empathy or suspense for or whatever it is, that's the key. And so to me, that the script had that. It had a family that was going through a rough time. The father just died, and so there's a widow and her kids, and my father passed away when I was young, and so I know what that was like. I know what that was like to be in a house where you lose like that.
Patriarch,
you lose that man in the house, and everybody's kind of in a daze, and kind of nobody really can tell up from down, And so I knew what that was after reading the script, and I felt like I could identify with where I fit into that story.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that answer. That was a great answer.
Oh, okay.
I love that. I kind of love that. Were you familiar with this curse of this woman, the woman that
No.
cries?
I had no idea.
I was like, ooh, the Latin folks, they got more, like, the Day of the Dead and the curse of whatever her name is.
La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm like, they got some good stuff.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I was like, the
Yeah.
Latin folks got some good stuff. I'm like, and then I started thinking, I'm like, are there any curses or anything like that in the African American community that I could think of? And the only thing I could come up with was Bigfoot.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's a black thing.
It's not a black
Bigfoot.
thing, but
I think that's
but,
like a.
But beyond the black thing, I was like, do I know about any other curses or anything like wives' tales?
Right.
And I was like, literally, the only thing that crossed my mind was Bigfoot, and I was just like, okay,
Well, do you know any West Indians?
I don't.
Okay, because I'm West Indian. My parents are from Guyana,
Oh, okay.
and so when I was growing up, you always heard about somebody called Jambi.
Ooh, you got to tell me about that. I don't know.
Basically, it's the boogeyman.
Oh.
So
So what was he gonna do? He just gonna come and scare people?
just come up and snatch you up in the middle of the night.
no.
That's what I had always heard, what I was told. So you gotta watch out for the Jambi.
Oh no.
Don't behave a jump, we gonna get you. You know, that type of thing.
no.
Yeah. So.
Ooh, the boogeyman.
Yeah.
A West Indian boogeyman.
Jumpy man.
That is pure comedy.
So that's what I grew up with.
Oh no, I grew up with I just keep coming back to Bigfoot. I grew up with Bigfoot, and I had an aunt. I grew up in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri, and I had an aunt that would. One day we would all sit on the porch in the summer times and stuff, and we had these 4-family flats where 3/4 of my family lived in this 4-family flat. The 2 outside units were downstairs, and the 2 inside were upstairs. And my aunt, we used to call her Mama Clee. She came down the stairs one day. She had taken the orange bedspread off of her bed and put it over her head and came down the stairs pretending to be Bigfoot. And I will never forget that as long as I live, because it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And then right before she got to the end of the steps, she fell face first. Ooh. Bam! And we were like, oh my God, are you okay? And then she took the cover off and just cracked up laughing. And my whole family was on the front porch, and we laughed for a good 20 minutes, laughing at her in this orange bedspread trying to kill somebody like she was, and she was saying she was Bigfoot. So the little kids got really scared, and they were crying and they were running. And me and my brother and some of my other cousins that were my age, we were just laughing because we knew it was her.
Sure.
But it was pure comedy. But I did, when I saw the film, I thought, I wonder if there are any other wives' tales like that from other different parts of life, because that one is like so scary. Oh, I remember. Do you remember this one? The one about the where you would look in the mirror. I forget it was Mary something or another. If you went into a bathroom in the dark and you looked in the mirror and you said Mary, whatever her name is, and she was supposed to come out of the mirror and get you.
I never heard that.
That was a scary one too.
I never heard that. My wife is from New Orleans, and they have a ton of that.
Oh,
yeah. She's Creole and she's from New Orleans.
Oh, so she know all that voodoo
They
stuff.
have all that voodoo stuff. She's got like 40 different, monsters and boogeymen and all kinds of stuff.
Ooh, no. But I what I loved about the film is that it showed that a mother will do just about anything to protect her kids.
Yes.
And this mother literally does. Like, she went in hard to protect her kids, but then her kids went in hard to protect her too.
They did.
Her kids went in hard to protect her too. Yeah. And I did reckon the guy who played the former priest, who is now like a ghost shaker, ghost hunter.
Yeah, a curandero.
I've seen him in a zillion films.
Raymond Cruz, yeah.
Yes, Raymond Cruz.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a zillion films, but I'd never seen him in a film where he had a decent arc. Like, usually, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah.
usually in these films, he's got like this arc that's kind of like, he kind of comes and goes, and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen him before, but he didn't have a real story. I was so happy to see him have a story, and even your character had a really nice story.
Yeah, a little bit.
You were a detective, and you were supportive of this woman with her kids, because I think you worked with the father.
I was the father's partner in the police force. Yeah.
I like the fact that you stayed active in their lives after the father was gone, and you were trying to keep that, not an oath, but that promise that you gave to the dad that you would look out for them.
Yeah.
And you did exactly that, even when a situation arose where it looked like, I'm trying to talk about the movie, but not talk about it.
I was think, how's she going to get around
right.
this one?
So I'm like, even when a situation arose when things were not looking so good for the mom or the kids, you were the person that kind of stepped in to kind of counteract it, and make sure that it was okay.
Yeah.
But I dug what you did in it, because it was very understated. It was very real. And I could relate to that character. I could relate to that man. I could relate to that relationship that he had with that family. It was all A+. But you always do that.
I appreciate that.
I told you, dude, I'm a fan of yours over here at Black Hollywood Live. I am the Sean Patrick Thomas fan club all by myself. So I'm just saying.
Hey, I need all the fans I can get. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So can you tell me about any other projects that you have on the horizon?
There's nothing else coming up right now.
What?
No. I'm available.
Hollywood. I'm gonna need y'all to give Sean Patrick Thomas some work. Like, he is a quality actor. He knows what he's doing. He's great. He has a huge fan base, a la moi. I mean,
no, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
You need a break?
Well, no, I'm not saying I need a break. I'm just saying that I've been very fortunate, and something's gonna come up. Something always does.
What would be your dream thing to work on?
My dream thing to work on right now, James Bond.
Oh,
James Bond.
Did you want to be James Bond?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I
my
mean,
shit.
why settle
Uh-oh.
for anything
you
less?
You might have to fight Idris for that, honey.
Hey, you know, I respect Idris. he and I can go after it, and may the best man win.
I kind of love it. Ooh, I never thought about that.
I would love to play James.
Ooh,
Bond.
you'd be a good James
I think
Bond.
I would be. Yeah.
Ooh, because he got that debonair thing going. Okay, go ahead, Sean Patrick Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got to ponder on that for a minute. What else would you go back to Broadway?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat. I loved every second of it.
Would you do a musical and dance?
I would do Hamilton. Where I can rap.
He's like, I would do Hamilton. I don't know about dancing, but I'll do Hamilton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hamilton is the type of thing where I just love I love every word of it, every syllable, every beat of it. My kids love it. We all do it together in the car. That'd be a dream job.
What's your favorite number?
And
that you do with your kids in the car?
That I do with my kids in the car.
Is it the opening?
Probably my kids know that one, and Yorktown. Me and my son love Yorktown. That's our thing. Yeah.
Now, what is it about Hamilton that you think you would want to do that 8 times a week? That's a hard show to do 8 times a week. Before you answer, let me just say this. Not for nothing, but it is a show that's mostly rap. It's not like if you're doing a play or if you're doing musical theater and you skip a line, you can make some stuff up. You can't be making up no lines. You can't make up no lines in Hamilton.
That's where I come from. I mean, I was trained.
That's right.
Classical theater.
Yeah, because
so
we got on the air, you was doing Shakespeare.
Yeah. So you can't make stuff up in Shakespeare either. So that doesn't bother me. That's right up my alley.
I could never do Shakespeare.
Oh, yes, you could.
I am improv queen. I am that person. I am improv queen. I am that person that if I forgot a line, yeah, I would just make stuff up. Because I have... so the first TV job I ever had was Chicago Hope. And it got to me... It was time for me to say my 2 or 3 little lines that I had. And I didn't realize, because I came from theater to television, so I didn't realize that you had to tape things multiple times from multiple angles.
Yes.
Because I was used to the theater where it was one and done, right? So they had taped it so many times. By the time they got to me in my close-up, I was exhausted, and it was at the end of the day.
It's a skill.
They got to me, and I was like, that camera rolled, and Rocky Carroll said that line to cue me in, and my face, he said he saw my eyes just glaze. He said he looked at me. He said he saw my eyes just glaze over, and he said he knew what was coming, because he said he'd seen that happen to Rock Dutton on more than one occasion when they were doing Rock.
Right.
And I must have talked for a good 5 minutes. Michael Schultz was the director, and I made up a whole monologue for 5 minutes. They just let me talk until they said cut. And I was like, oh my God.
Did they use it?
No, they used what was scripted. But he literally, I think he just wanted to see how far I would go. And I was still talking when he said cut.
Right.
I was just, and when he yelled cut, the whole crew just busted out laughing. And I was like, yeah, so I'm not that chick that's going to be able to do some Shakespeare. I will never audition for Hamilton, because I know me. I will mess up and will be making some stuff up and be like, you can't rewrite history. It's Alexander Hamilton.
It's so brilliant. It's so brilliant that once you learn it, it will stick in your head. I guarantee you. When writing is good, it just sticks right there.
You talking about Shakespeare or Hamilton?
Both. And it won't go anywhere. I guarantee you. You could do it.
Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm be able to do all that, because I literally, somebody wanted me to audition for. I think it was either Taming of the Shrew or I can't remember. I think it was Taming of the Shrew. And I was like, I don't know if I can be doing all that.
Well, I'm not saying you can walk in off the street and do Shakespeare.
No.
It takes practice and training.
You'd have to be trained to do that.
But beyond that, it really sticks in your head when it's brilliant.
Yeah, I would think that the training for Shakespeare is a skill to learn the sonnet rhythm, yeah?
Yeah, the iambic pentameter. Yeah.
Because that looks like a skill, because when I watch people perform it, it feels like a monologue, it feels like a musical monologue to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like it's a verse of a song, and then there's this pause, like you're waiting for the chorus, and then like there's this other verse. That's what it feels like when I watch it being performed.
Right.
So is that what it's like to learn it?
To me, it's like poetry. You know,
okay.
Depending on which play you're doing and which character you're doing, it's like poetry. But the words are so rich and the ideas are so complex that for me it just sticks once I understand what I'm saying and why I'm saying it.
What's your favorite Shakespearean piece?
Gosh, there's so many. I love Othello. I love Henry V, Part 1. I love Much Ado About Nothing.
Okay.
There's just so many.
Would you go to Broadway doing a Shakespearean piece?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
I think you
would
need to
do it
investigate
tomorrow.
that. I think you need to investigate that, Sean Patrick Thomas.
I might.
Do people just come up to you and say Sean Patrick Thomas, or they just say Sean?
They say Sean Patrick Thomas.
Isn't that hilarious?
Or they say the last dance, say the last dance. I get that a lot.
They just come up to you talking about say the last
Yeah,
dance.
yeah. Like they say that to me like that's my name.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
I interviewed the director of all those dance films. He was great. I had a good time with him. But I bring up the Shakespeare stuff because before we went on the air, we were doing the sound check for you, and you just busted out a piece of Shakespeare. I'm like, oh, you're gonna be that person today.
It's just a habit. It's just a habit. Like if I can say it, then I know that my mouth is working that day. That's all.
Do you sing?
I can carry a tune.
Would you do a musical?
Absolutely, I would. Yeah.
Which musical would you think you'd like to do that's already been done?
That's already been done.
Like a revival of a musical.
A revival of a musical.
You know, like a Kiss Me Kate joint. Because that's kind of like, Taming of the Shrew, but
Right.
musical.
You know what I would like to do? I would like to play Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music.
You better put that out there.
That's my thing.
Okay.
Christopher Plummer.
Well, okay.
I'm all about that.
Well, okay, Sean
Yeah.
Patrick Thomas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Either
I
that,
did not
or
expect-
My Fair Lady. One of the two.
Oh.
Henry Higgins, I will do that.
Well, okay, Sean Patrick Thomas, you better put it out there in the universe. I kind of love you for that.
Those are my shows.
Because I would have, of all the Broadway shows that exist, those are not the shows I thought you would have picked.
What would you?
I don't even know what you would have picked, but
right.
those are not the two that I immediately would have thought. Oh, really?
Right. Well, Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, you don't have to have this golden voice.
No, you don't.
Right. Like Rex Harrison in the movie, he doesn't sing like Luther Vandross.
No, the person that has to sing is the woman who plays the girl.
Right, Eliza
Yeah.
Doolittle. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But
And even she didn't sing in the movie. Ooh, did I say that out loud? Ooh.
yeah. But Professor Higgins, I could do that, and I could do Von Trapp too.
And
There's no black Austrians, but that's a whole other thing.
we don't know if there's no black Austrians.
That's true.
I mean,
There could be a black Von Trapp.
there may be some. We just don't know who they are yet.
That is true.
I'm just saying we're not gonna poo-poo that.
Well, black Austrians during World War II. That's a little tough, huh?
Yeah, that might be.
That's tough. They might be there now. I don't know if they were there then.
Yeah.
They might have to redo it to fit.
They might have to put it. They might have to like skew the story a little
Right.
bit, like they did with They took Carmen Jones and they moved the story around
like
a little
Carmen
bit. They
Jones
might have
type
to do
thing.
something like that.
Maybe like that, or just suspend disbelief and say, "Hey, Captain Von Trapp is black. Get over it."
I love you
And
so
go
much for
from
that.
there.
I love you so much for that. You know those not reenactments, but those NBC musicals that they were doing on TV. So
Yes.
you would do the Sound of Music for one of those, huh?
Oh, there's no
if,
doubt
if
about
they
it.
were still doing, I don't even think they do them anymore.
I think they're still doing them.
Are they?
Yeah.
Because I think they were supposed to do one and they canceled it.
I heard about that.
I think it was the Sound of Music, actually.
No, it wasn't.
No, that was the one Carrie Underwood did. Carrie Underwood
Right.
did Sound of Music. No, it was another one. It was a really popular one that I can't remember at the moment. But
Did you see Jesus Christ Superstar with John Legend?
oh, that was awesome.
That was incredible.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so they're still doing
That's
it.
the only one that they did really well, though. I feel like that's the only one that they did
My
really.
man,
And
Kenny
Hairspray
Leon, my
one.
man Kenny Leon did Hairspray.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hairspray
And he-
in that
he
one.
did a great job with
We're
that
good.
one.
We're
Yeah.
good. Oh, I'm glad you brought up Kenny Leon.
Yeah.
We could talk about him for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So Kenny Leon is one of these. He's not up and coming because he's been around for a long time, but he kind of took Broadway by storm for a minute because he did Raisin in the Sun with
He
you,
did.
and then he's been doing some other things, and he has that theater company in Atlanta.
Yes.
I want to see him do more stuff. I wish he would do more stuff on the small screen. I wish he would do something on the big screen.
Well, he's doing a movie right now, the play that he just did with Kerry Washington. I forget the name of it. But that's going to be a TV movie very soon.
Ooh, yay.
I think on Netflix.
Okay.
So I think he just did that.
Okay, I will look for that. Were you okay? Speaking of Carrie, are you so surprised that Scandal ended up being Scandal with her?
No,
I mean,
mean-
because I've been watching her for a long time, from Save the Last Dance all the way through. You know, I remember her being in Ray and playing Ray Charles' wife. Like she's had a very interesting career.
Sure.
So when Scandal hit, I was like, oh my God, this girl. She's like you in the respect that you guys are very multifaceted, and your talent and your gifts have no boundaries. There's nothing in front of you that says you can't do that. So when Scandal hit, were you like, that's my girl, that's my friend Carrie, she doing it, she doing it.
It was very, very, very cool to see. But I know that she's very driven. I know she's very ambitious. She has a great team. She had, like, when we were doing Save the Last Dance, she had her manager there a lot of the time. And at that point, neither one of us had done much of anything. But this woman that she was working with, I don't recall her name right off the top of my head, but she was always around, and you could tell that she believed in her from back then.
That's good.
And when you have people around you like that, the sky's the limit.
Do you have the same team in place, or have you switched a couple of times over the years?
I've bounced around a little bit, but I have an agent now that I'm very, very happy with, that I've been with for a while.
What advice would you give to someone that looks at you and they're like, I want to do what he's doing. I want to have a career that has had the trajectory that his has had. What kind of advice would you give to some young actors that are watching this right now?
I would say you have to get some training. You have to do it for real on stage, because that's the only place you really learn how to be grounded in what you're doing.
You learn discipline there.
You learn discipline, and you don't worry so much about how you look or what people think. You're just doing your job. And that's what I get from training. That's what I took from it, that you just got to be focused on the task at hand.
Were you ever in a place with your career where you thought, I know I'm different, I know I look different, I know I'm not, I know when people look at what they think a black guy is, I don't necessarily fit that particular ideology.
Right.
Did you ever go, well, maybe I should, switch up and do this, or maybe I should switch up and do that? Or did you always have that thing inside of you that was like, I'm going to stay true to who I am, and I'm going to brand me, and I don't really care what these other people want to see, but I'm just going to do me?
Right. I think early on in my career, I had like a sensitivity to that, like coming off as what people are used to seeing or expect to see. I think when I was much, much younger, I probably had a sensitivity to that. But once I became more aware of my place in the world, once I became more sensitive to and educated about racism, about images, about stereotypes, how things are reinforced, it became very important to me to not become a part of that. And I became very proud of the fact that the roles that I do and the way that I do them cuts against stereotypes and cuts against anybody pigeonholing me or any other black man. So it kind of took it that direction for me. And so that's a part of the way I approach my work now. Like, it's very important to me that nothing that you see me doing is going to reinforce stereotypes.
I embrace that, and I believe that. I have a book that I wrote for actors called The Actor's Guide to Self-Marketing, How to Promote and Brand Your Unique Image. And I'm a big proponent in the fact that there's only one of you on the whole face of the planet. There's nobody else like you. Why are you wasting all this time trying to be that person over there, be that person over there, or have this career, have that career, have that whatever? Do you. Be the best you can be, and you will find that whatever that has in store for you will be better than anything you would have encountered if you're trying to be somebody else.
There's no doubt.
Well, I think that is our time, Sean Patrick Thomas. I am so happy that you came over here to talk to me here at Black Hollywood Live. And the film through Lionsgate, LD Entertainment, called The Curse of La Llorona.
Yes. New Line. New Line Cinema.
New Line Cinema. My bad. Wrong studio. Oops. New Line Cinemas. The Curse of La Llorona will be out by the time you guys watch this. So happy that you took some time over here. If people want to keep in touch with you are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Where can they find you on social media? On
Instagram, I'm at Sean P. Thomas. And on Twitter, I'm at Sean_P_Thomas.
Cool. And I'm your girl, Carla Renata, a.k.a. The Curvy Film Critic. You can find me across all social media platforms at The Curvy Critic. You can also catch me right after this over at GH for the General Hospital After Show, or the GH Report as we like to call it. But
That's my show.
You watch General Hospital?
Sonny Corinthos.
Oh, dude, you got to come over.
Jason Morgan.
You got to come over to the GH Report and hang with us.
That's my show.
Dude. Okay. I digress. But anyway, I'm going to have Sean Patrick Thomas come over to the GH Report one day. But until then, we will see you next time at The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Love, peace, and hair grease. Bye.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.